Hi there, I'm the Declutter Homemaker. The holidays are coming, and before things get busy, this is the perfect time to clear a little space. Not because something's wrong, but because I've found that the season feels so much better when I'm not surrounded by stuff I don't need, when the kitchen drawers open easily, when I know what's in the closet, when I don't have to dig through old things just to enjoy the present. So today I'm walking you through 18 simple things to declutter right now before the gifts come in, before the decorations go up, before the pace of the season picks up. Just a bit of breathing room so you can head into the holidays and the new year feeling ready, not buried. Let's jump into the first one. The first thing to declutter is the Notes app on your phone. I know it doesn't take up physical space, but it takes up mental space. And honestly, it adds up. Grocery lists from 3 months ago, random ideas you don't even remember, writing down, reminders that are no longer relevant. It's all still sitting there. I used to scroll through my notes and feel a little scattered, like I had too many unfinished thoughts floating around. And the truth is, most of us don't go back and check half of what we write down. So here's a small task. Open your Notes app. Delete anything you don't need. Clean up your lists. If there's something you actually want to keep, move it to one master list you do check. It only takes a few minutes, but it gives you this quiet little reset, like clearing your desk, but for your brain. And the best part, you don't even have to get off the couch to do it. The second thing to declutter is your watch list and your to-be-read list. You know the one. All those shows you saved on Netflix for later. The books you added to your reading list 6 months ago, or maybe 2 years ago. Back when you thought you might be into crime dramas, or historical fiction, or whatever phase you were in. I'm not saying you have to delete everything, but if you scroll through that list and nothing really excites you anymore, that's your sign. You've changed. Your interests have changed, and it's totally okay to clear it out. I used to keep everything just in case I want to read it someday, but it started to feel like pressure, like homework I gave myself. I'd open my book app and immediately feel guilty. Same with my watch list, too many options and none of them felt right. So here's what I do now. I keep just a few titles that actually make me feel curious. The ones I want to start this weekend, not maybe someday. And I let the rest go. Because watching a movie or reading a book should feel like a treat, not a chore. Clearing out those lists doesn't mean you're giving up on anything. It just means you're making room for the stories you actually want to enjoy right now. The third thing to declutter is subscriptions you're no longer really using. A few weeks ago, I sat down with my laptop and checked all the automatic charges linked to my card. Turns out I was still paying for a recipe app I hadn't opened since spring and a cloud storage plan I didn't even need anymore. And honestly, I didn't cancel them earlier because I kept thinking, well, maybe I'll use it next month. But months kept going by. It's not just about saving money though, that's definitely nice. It's also about closing those small open loops. Because every time you see a charge come through for something you don't use, it's another little reminder that you should be doing something. And that should add mental clutter. So here's a practical step. Look through your email for renewal notices. Or check your phone's subscription list. Ask yourself, have I used this in the last 60 days? If not, cancel it. No guilt, just a clean break. You might only cancel 1 or 2. But it still feels good, like taking one more thing off your plate before the year gets busy. The next thing to declutter is old planners and calendars. You know, the ones from last year, or even the year before. Maybe they still have a few blank pages. Maybe there are old appointments or to-do lists in them. But if you're not using them anymore, they're just sitting there taking up space. I used to keep mine just in case. I tell myself I might want to look back at something. But truthfully, I never did. Most of what I needed was already in my phone or long forgotten. And the thing is, when you're holding on to old planners, part of your brain stays stuck in past mode. Even if you're not flipping through them, they're still around quietly reminding you of unfinished goals or messy seasons you've already moved on from. So take a minute, pull them off the shelf or out of the drawer, Flip through if you want, but then ask yourself, do I really need to keep this? Letting them go can feel surprisingly good. Like making space not just on your desk, but in your head to focus on what's next, not what's done. The next thing to declutter is your purse and your wallet. You don't even have to look far. Just grab the bag you've been carrying around and dump everything out on the table. You'll probably find old receipts, crumpled tissues, loyalty cards from places you don't shop at anymore, maybe even a snack wrapper or two. It builds up so fast because we're always in a rush. We tuck things in just for now and then forget about them. I've even found expired coupons or appointment cards from 6 months ago. And your wallet. Same story. Extra cards, old punch cards, random coins, maybe even a business card from someone you don't remember meeting. Clearing out your bag doesn't take long, but the result is instant. It's like wiping the slate clean. You can actually find what you need and your bag feels lighter, literally and mentally. This is also a great time to give the inside a quick clean, shake out the dust, wipe it down, maybe even switch to a smaller bag if that feels right. You carry this stuff with you every day. It makes a difference when it's not full of things you don't need anymore. The next thing to declutter is any dead plants or plants that clearly need a little help. I think most of us have at least one. That pot you keep watering, hoping something green will come back, but deep down, you know it's not happening. Maybe the leaves are completely gone. Maybe it's just a dry stick in some old soil. And then there are the plants that are doing okay, but they've outgrown their pots. Roots poking out the bottom soil that's dry no matter how much you water, they need a fresh start too. I used to leave struggling plants sitting around because I felt bad throwing them out. But the truth is, walking past a dying plant every day doesn't feel great. It's like a quiet reminder of something I meant to take care of, but didn't. So here's the shift. Either give the plant what it needs, a new pot, fresh soil, better light, or say goodbye. Toss the ones that are clearly gone and make space for the ones that are still growing. Your home feels more alive when the things in it are actually living. The next thing to declutter is your desk or whatever space you work from. It doesn't matter if you work from home full-time or just sit down there to pay bills, write lists, or check emails. If your desk is covered in stuff you don't use, it becomes harder to focus and easier to avoid. I used to have sticky notes everywhere, pens that didn't work, old to-do lists, tangled chargers, a mug or two that never made it back to the kitchen. It added up. And even when I wasn't working, I'd glance over and feel mentally cluttered just looking at it. So here's something simple: clear everything off the surface. Pick up each item and ask yourself, do I actually need this here? If it's something you use often, keep it. If not, find a new home for it or let it go. For the things you do, keep like notebooks, chargers, supplies, try storing them in closed containers or drawers, especially if you're someone who gets visually overwhelmed. Out of sight doesn't mean out of mind, it just means you can breathe a little easier while you work. You don't have to organize everything perfectly. You don't need matching containers or a Pinterest-worthy setup. Just less stuff on the surface, less visual noise. Because when your desk feels calm, sitting down to work, or even just to think, feels a lot easier. The next thing to declutter is whatever's hiding under your bed. It's one of those places we forget about until we suddenly remember, and then it just feels heavy. I don't know about you, but even when I'm not looking at it, knowing there's a mess under the bed makes the whole room feel messier. Sometimes it's just old bags, random boxes, or things we stuck there thinking, I'll deal with it later. But later never really comes. So here's what I suggest: pull it all out. Just lay everything on the floor and take a look. If something actually makes sense to stay there, like a storage bin for seasonal bedding, that's totally fine. But if you forgot you even owned it, that's a clue. Maybe it doesn't need to stay. And if you come across things you still use but haven't touched in months, think about moving them somewhere more visible. A closet or drawer you actually open. That way you're more likely to use them. I personally like keeping that space completely empty. It's easier to clean, and something about it just makes the room feel calmer. Even if no one else sees under your bed, you know what's there. And clearing it out, it makes a bigger difference than you'd expect. The next thing to declutter is holiday decorations you don't actually like anymore. We all have a few. The ornaments that stay at the bottom of the box every year, the string lights that half work, the old garland that sheds every time you touch it. But because it's holiday stuff, we keep packing it away year after year. At some point, I realized I was keeping certain things just because I had them, not because I enjoyed seeing them in my home. And during the holidays, when there's already a lot going on, decorating should feel fun, not like a chore or an obligation. If something doesn't make you smile when you unpack it, maybe it doesn't need to come out again. So this year, when you pull out your holiday boxes, take a few extra minutes. Notice what you actually look forward to using, and what you've been ignoring for the last few seasons. Let go of the pieces that feel more like shoulds than joy. You're not being wasteful. You're just making room for a season that feels more like you. And bonus less decor means less to pack up later. The next thing to declutter is mugs and glasses that no one really uses. It's such a common one, especially if you live with family or if you've lived in the same home for a long time. Somehow the collection just grows. A cute mug from a gift set, a souvenir from a trip, a glass you don't even remember buying. And suddenly the kitchen cabinet is packed. The funny part is most people reach for the same 2 or 3 mugs every time. The favorites, the ones that feel good to hold, or keep drinks warm longer, or just feel familiar. And the rest, they sit in the back, taking up space, getting dusty. Sometimes even getting in the way when you're putting dishes away or trying to find something. I used to keep every mug just in case. What if guests came over? What if one broke? But over time, I realized I was organizing and reorganizing a whole shelf full of things no one touched, just to make space for the few we actually used. So here's a good little reset. Pull out all the mugs and glasses, set them on the counter and look at them with fresh eyes. Which ones get used all the time? Which ones are chipped awkward to hold or just never chosen? Keep the ones that serve your real life, not the maybe someday version of your life. A couple of extras are fine, of course, but there's no need to keep a dozen Mac cups just to fill a shelf. And if you're short on cabinet space, which many of us are especially during the holidays, clearing out unused mugs makes a noticeable difference. Suddenly, there's room to reach, stack, and move things without playing kitchen Jenga. It's such a small area, but simplifying it can make everyday routines, morning coffee, setting the table, emptying the dishwasher, feel easier and calmer. The next thing to declutter is single-use kitchen gadgets that rarely get touched. You know the ones: a sandwich press, a banana slicer, a mini waffle maker. All those tools that sounded fun or helpful at the time, but somehow ended up in the back of a cabinet. They're not bad items. Some of them actually work really well. But if they only do one thing and that one thing hasn't happened in months, it might be time to let them go. I used to hold on to stuff just in case I need it for a recipe. But honestly, if I haven't used the crepe pan or the avocado tool all year, I probably don't need to keep reorganizing around it. Kitchen space is valuable, especially during busy seasons like the holidays. When you're cooking more often or having guests over, it helps to have clear counters and easy-to-reach cabinets. And the bulky gadgets that only get used once a year, they make everything else harder to get to. That doesn't mean you have to be a minimalist chef. If there's a specialty item you love using, even occasionally, keep it. But the ones that never leave the drawer, the ones you forgot you had. That's where it gets easier to make a clean decision. If you're not sure, set it aside for a few weeks. If you don't miss it, that tells you something. Clearing out a few of these can free up space fast. And the next time you open a cabinet to grab a mixing bowl, you won't have to dig past 5 things you never use. It's one of those quiet upgrades that makes cooking just a little easier. The next thing to declutter is expired medicine and supplements. This one's easy to overlook. Most of us have a drawer, a box, or a cabinet somewhere with cold medicine, vitamins, bandages, maybe a thermometer. It's meant to be a helpful space, but over time it can turn into a mix of half-used bottles and things that aren't even safe to take anymore. I went through mine recently and found cough syrup that expired 2 years ago. A bottle of iron supplements I completely forgot about. and a pain reliever I thought I had, but it was actually empty. When that space gets cluttered, it's hard to know what you actually have. And that's the last thing you want when someone's not feeling well. So take 10 minutes, check expiration dates. Toss anything that's clearly out of date or nearly empty and never used. If something doesn't have a label anymore, it's probably time to let it go too. While you're in there, group similar items together: pain relief, cold and flu, first aid, daily vitamins. It doesn't need to be perfect, just easy to see. And one more thing, if you live with others, make sure everyone knows where to find what they need. A tidy, up-to-date medicine spot can make a stressful moment feel just a little more manageable. The next thing to declutter is old, worn-out towels. You know, the ones thin, scratchy, maybe a little stained, or just don't dry like they used to. They still work technically, so we keep using them, but they don't feel good anymore. For the longest time, I didn't think twice about my towels. I'd had the same ones for years. But then one day I stayed somewhere with thick, soft towels, and it completely changed how that simple routine felt. It was warmer, gentler, more comforting. That's when I realized a towel isn't just something you dry off with. It's the first thing that touches your skin after a shower. And if it's scratchy or damp feeling, it affects the whole experience. So now I keep just a few towels that actually feel good to use. No more piles of mismatched ones shoved into the closet just in case. If a towel is falling apart, not absorbent anymore, or just feels unpleasant, it's okay to let it go. Keep 1 or 2 older ones for cleaning or emergencies, but give yourself permission to retire the rest. You don't have to replace everything at once. Even upgrading one towel can make everyday life feel a little more cared for. The next thing to declutter is an old pillow that just isn't doing its job anymore. Pillows are one of those things we tend to hold on to way too long. It still looks okay, it sort of fluffs back up, and we get used to it. But if you've been waking up with a sore neck, headaches, or just not sleeping well, it might not be your schedule. It might be your pillow. I kept the same pillow for years thinking it was fine. But once I finally replaced it, the difference was immediate. I didn't realize how flat and unsupportive the old one had gotten until I felt what proper support was like. Sleep is already hard to come by when life is busy. So if something as small as your pillow is working against you, that's a fix worth making. You don't have to spend a lot or search for the perfect one, just something that supports your head and neck the way your body needs right now. And if it's been years since you replaced it, chances are it's time. If you have guests, occasionally keep one extra in good condition. But those flat, lumpy ones, the ones that never feel quite right, you don't need to keep those just in case. A better night's sleep starts with feeling comfortable, and it's hard to rest when your head isn't properly supported. The next thing to declutter is extra sheets and bedding that don't get used. It's so easy to accumulate a set from an old bed-size one that never quite fits right, another that feels scratchy but still works, and suddenly the linen closet is overflowing. I used to keep a whole stack thinking I needed options. But when I really looked, I was only rotating between 2 sets. The rest were just sitting there taking up space, getting wrinkled, and making it harder to grab the ones I actually used. And honestly, having fewer makes laundry easier too. I don't have to dig through 5 mismatched sets just to find the fitted sheet that actually fits. If you have kids or multiple beds, of course, it makes sense to keep a few extras. But there's a difference between being prepared and holding on to bedding that no one likes using. Go through what you have. Keep the ones that feel good, fit properly, and get used. Let go of the rest, the itchy ones, the stained ones, the ones that always slide off the mattress. You don't need a whole shelf of just-in-case sheets. A simple rotation of clean, comfortable sets is more than enough. And when the linen closet isn't stuffed full, it's easier to find what you need, and you can actually close the door without forcing it. The next thing to declutter is the linen closet, especially extra sheet sets that just sit there. It's one of those spaces we don't open every day, so it's easy for it to get packed without noticing. You fold a set, shove it in, promise to organize later, and then move on. Before long, there are fitted sheets without their match pillowcases from old sets and random blankets no one's touched in years. Every time I used to open our linen cupboard, I'd have to dig around just to find the one set I actually liked. And half the time I'd end up pulling everything out just to get to the one at the bottom. So here's something simple: pull everything out. Match up full sets and take stock. How many does your home really need? 1 or 2 per bed is usually enough, maybe an extra if you've got small kids or frequent guests. Anything that's worn out, incomplete, or never used, that can go. Decluttering this space doesn't just make the closet look better, it makes laundry days smoother, it saves time. And it's one more place in the house that feels done, not chaotic. The next thing to declutter is anything that's been waiting to be fixed for way too long. Maybe it's a broken lamp, a torn bag, a chair with a loose leg, or a book with pages falling out that you swore you'd glue back together. It's been sitting there for months or maybe years, quietly reminding you that it still needs attention. I used to keep a whole little pile of fix-it-later things in a corner, and every time I saw it, I felt a little guilty, like I was falling behind on some imaginary checklist. But the truth was, if I hadn't fixed it by now, I probably wasn't going to. Sometimes we hold on to these things with good intentions, but the longer they sit untouched, the more they become mental clutter. It's just one more unfinished task sitting quietly in the background. So here's a gentle way to handle it. Gather all the items you've been meaning to fix. Really look at them. If something is worth repairing and you're actually going to do it, put it on the calendar. Set a deadline. Do it this week. But if it's not worth your time, energy, or money, let it go. No shame, no guilt, just a quiet decision to stop carrying it forward. Because starting a new season or a new year feels lighter when you're not dragging old to-dos behind you. The last thing to declutter is hobby or craft supplies from interests that just don't excite anymore. At some point, maybe there was real enthusiasm, painting, sewing, scrapbooking, model kits, knitting, and those supplies felt full of possibility. But over time, things change. Maybe you lost interest, maybe life got busy, or maybe it simply stopped feeling fun, and yet the stuff is still there, tucked in drawers, stored in bins, taking up space, and quietly making you feel guilty for not using it. I kept a box of watercolor paints for years. Every time I opened the closet, I thought I should really get back into that. But I never did. Eventually, I realized I wasn't keeping the supplies because I loved the hobby, I was keeping them because I used to. Letting go of those items isn't giving up. It's making space. For things that fit where you are now. For a new creative outlet, or maybe just a little breathing room. So take a look through your hobby stash. Keep what still brings you joy or feels active in your life. And the rest, it's okay to donate, gift, or let go. Interests shift. That's normal. You don't have to carry every version of yourself forever. So that's it, 18 simple things to clear out before the holidays really kick in. Not because your home has to be perfect, but because it feels better to go into a busy season with less noise, less digging, less guilt, fewer "I'll deal with it later" piles. You don't need to do it all today. Just pick one. The Notes app, the old pillow, the bag you carry every day. Even the smallest reset can give your mind some breathing room. Let me know in the comments which one of these feels doable for you right now. And if you're ready for a deeper shift, the next video is a full realistic kids' room declutter, including a big toy purge, honest moments, and the kind of transformation that actually lasts. If you found this helpful, go ahead and share it with a friend and subscribe for more videos that help your home and your head feel lighter. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.